Okay, can you guys hear me? I'm hoping I've fixed it. Could you let me know in the chat if you can see the screen, if you can hear me okay? Okay. I'll give everyone maybe 30, 60 seconds just to get in the chat. I think this has all worked okay. Okay, great. Okay. Okay, brilliant. Okay, I'm seeing all the stuff come through now. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I wasn't, I'm new to the streaming, so I'm trying to get it as right as I can. But yeah, I'm still learning with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is same as usual. I'm going to go through how we should be having our long-term and mid-term assessments, and by doing that, we'll go through the on-chain stuff. The on-chain stuff will tell us how we should, the level of conviction we should have, and in which direction we should have it. Once I've done that, we'll move over onto the charts. We'll start building an opinion on what we think is going to happen over the coming days, weeks, and maybe even months. And if things start looking good, then we'll start looking at ones that we like, so as in coins we like, to potentially start building positions and thinking about doing trades. So let me just make this a little bit bigger for everyone. Hopefully the quality will be a bit better then. Okay, so start with the exchange net position change. I'm going to zoom in a bit further. I'm going to go all the way from sort of 2019 onwards. So as some of you guys will know already who have watched some of the streams before, what we're looking for here, this is Bitcoin. The price is the black line behind, and the green spikes indicate big amounts of selling. So that's Bitcoin that's flowing into the exchanges to be sold. The red spikes indicate large amounts of Bitcoin leaving the exchanges, so being bought up by investors and moving into cold storage wallets. So as you can see here, we've had some nice red spikes. So as Bitcoin's come down from 68k down to 55, 56k, whichever it is you want to call it, we've had considerable accumulation down here. And in the majority, the selling has been coming from the short-term holders, the people that hold Bitcoin for 1 day, 3 days, 1 week. So for us, that's fine. We don't really care about that. That's just people dipping in and out. That's like the day traders that just look to be chopping in and out, basically. So we don't need to worry ourselves with that in terms of the macro view longer term. We can see here, if I zoom in even more, it's like here, that the red spikes are nicely downtrending. This means that the amount of Bitcoin leaving exchanges is greater, most days, other than we've got this little dip in here, but you're seeing more and more Bitcoin coming off the exchange every day. So this supports our narrative that the miners and the exchanges are looking to accumulate more and more Bitcoin for themselves, and in bringing the price down more, you start seeing this accumulation become heavier. So let's move to this tab here, and we'll move to large wallet inflows. Just checking the screen is picked up all okay on the stream. Yes, it does. Okay, sweet. Right, now large wallet inflows. So as you can see, this is the peak in 2017, and these blue bubbles indicate large amounts of buying. Sorry about the cough, by the way, I still have it. But these blue bubbles indicate large amounts of buying by whales. So each bubble will be somewhere in the region of 1k to 10k, usually 1k to 10k Bitcoin purchases. Now that's not 1k to 10k dollars purchase, that's 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoins purchased at any one point. The bigger the bubble, the greater number of Bitcoin being purchased. So if we go to where we are now, you can see that we've got a massive bubble here, and we've had bubbles all the way along here. And this bubble here is probably the biggest out of the whole bull cycle, other than the very bottom of the bear market back in late 2018. This is obviously really good to see. Especially here, I think we have 118,000 Bitcoin purchase at, I think, 56k28. There we go. Okay, look in your bottom right-hand corner. You'll be able to see 56,280, and the number of bitcoins purchased was 118,000 bitcoins. So you do the maths in your head, but the dollar amount being spent is ridiculously high. So yeah, this is a very bullish sign, and this isn't typical to see only 20% off all-time highs. You see this level of accumulation, and it's in the majority. It's because we've had a lot of. At this moment in time, we see that approximately 15% of the circulating supply is held amongst short-term holders. Now, short-term, the long-term holder, is defined by 155 days. So any coin that isn't older than 155 days old, so that's about 6 months, is considered a short-term holder coin. Anything longer than 155 days is a long-term holder coin. So you're currently seeing only 15% of coins being held in the short-term holders. So that means there's 85% of the supply has not moved in 155 days. That's telling you these big guys are holding on to these coins. And as we progress further through this bull market, from here onwards, as you can see on the chart, the coins that haven't moved are both falling into from short-term holder to a long-term holder coin. So you might see this supply dip all the way down to about 7-8%, and that will mean 93% held amongst the long-term holders. That will force the price up because there's only 7% of the supply available to be purchased on the market. So what happens when the price goes up to 70, 80, 90k? Retail starts coming in, and there's only 7% of the actual market worth of circulating Bitcoin actually there to be bought. You're going to see the price probably skyrocket. So in order to go from 50k to 150k, and people might say, oh, you need $2 trillion to come into the market. That's not necessarily true, because there's only 7% of the actual Bitcoin available to be purchased. So you actually only need 7% of that $2 trillion to actually come into the market, assuming no one else, the long-term holders don't start selling. But they obviously will. They'll be selling into the price rises into 70, 80, 90, 100, and probably further on, they'll be selling into those price increases. Let's move on to... I'm going to stay away from the metrics now. Let's go through the charts. So, I'm going to go down to, at the moment you're seeing every candle you see is 12 hours. For Bitcoin, I'm going to move down to 4 hours. So we've got it in slightly better detail. So we can see here that we filled the yellow box here, and we've now got a deeper fill in here. We got it this morning. I was actually at a meeting this morning, and I came back, saw that the rest of my orders had filled, and we were sort of back up here. So I was obviously thinking, this is excellent. And I didn't have to worry about the emotional side of it or the psychological side of it, because I was sat in the meeting, I wasn't even looking at it. But you can see here, we've now got a bullish divergence as well. The RSI is at a higher point than when it was down here. So even though price was lower, you're not as oversold as you was down here. If we go all the way up to 1 day time frame, trying to bring it in, you can see here you've got the same. This may be enough now to send the market further. You need something like this. It shows that the chart is strong. Professional traders will now look at this and say, "Oh, I like that now. That looks nice to me. I'm happy to jump in here and trade this and go long." So to have a bullish divergence all the way from sort of 1 hour time frame all the way up to the 1 day time frame is really, really good to have. Let's go back to 4 hours. So just to sort of stress the fact that how much more positive this is. So what I'm looking at now for next targets, I'm looking at this to hold. Definitely this needs to hold. We need to reclaim this horizontal support, the white line. Well, now it's the horizontal resistance. So we need to go above that, flip it, consolidate above, and turn it from resistance into support. This also conveniently aligned with one of the orange boxes. So this is a local one, so it shouldn't be a ridiculous amount of resistance, but it should act as some resistance. So we're hoping to get above this, climb above the white line. If we can get that, a break above this red downtrend line would be good. And then this one is the bigger testing one. If we can get that, and then a push into the orange box, that would be really great. Then at the orange box, we'll be seeing, well, is this main red downtrend line going to hold? So it might be the case we get a move from here into the orange box, a rejection, and then a move down and fill the main yellow box. Although I think with this bullish divergence here, I think that may actually be enough for us just to go. I don't think the market makers want to send us as low as 51k, 52k. I think that might ruin the cat, even though it actually wouldn't. A lot of traders would look at that with less conviction, less confidence, and they don't want. They probably are now filling their bags. They've accumulated lots and lots of Bitcoin. They want the price to now probably start going up rather than it to dip here and here again. They probably already filled their bags here. They probably filled it back at 30k, 40k. They probably don't want it to go back down in here now. They'd probably rather, we just send it and go from there. But that's the situation with Bitcoin. I'll come back to the end in terms of potential scenarios that might play out. Let's now move on to Ethereum, and we'll move into a higher time frame. So starting here, we can see that this didn't get the bullish divergence, but this has looked much better, as in it's not been dragged down as much as Bitcoin was. We've now got this test on the red line. You can even pull this as low as there. That's the more significant point. You can see now we're sort of literally at that red line now. So I'm hoping this here will get a nice close above the red line, and we end up shooting further and retesting this red line here. But the yellow boxes are played out nicely, and you've got your sort of nice refills. But again, we might get a move into here and dip down all the way to here, which will fill the yellow box and then go from there. But I'm not sure it's going to be the case. I think the odds are more in our favour now of having this burst through, having Bitcoin burst through. I still think the other situation of it going up here and then coming all the way back down here again and then doing its shoot. Macro-wise, I'm still really bullish because of the on-chain data stuff. So I still think we're going to have this big, shoot up at some point. I just don't know if it's going to be, this week, next week, or the following week. I think it's going to be within the next month. It might even be in the next week or so. But depending on what it does at this red trend line, I would say the odds are stronger for it to break through straight away rather than go up here and come down. I'd say it's about 65-35 in favour of just going from here. So if you filled in the yellow box, you've done well. And I know on the Bitcoin, all of us, we're placing orders from the past week or so. It filled really nicely in the yellow box, and now we're just hoping it goes, basically. Moving on to Litecoin. So again, Litecoin is actually looking a little bit uglier, because Litecoin has filled the yellow box really nicely, but it's now creating a flag. It's been held down by this red trend line. It's now being held down by this red trend line. Whether it can break above this red trend line and then close above this 50% of the channel, that will be a positive sign. But then you want to see it come out of this channel. This channel is very important. This is a very typical bear flag situation, and you could even get a move down to say $180 if it was to break through this flag, and it wasn't held up by the yellow trend line or the yellow box. So I think Litecoin, in terms of looking at the chart and its structure and asking ourselves, well, if we are confident on Bitcoin, 65% chance of it playing out in a bullish scenario, now we want to be looking at opportunities of other coins which we can get into that will reap good rewards. And for us, this one here, Litecoin, the chart isn't set up so well that we pick this one to put on our watch list and say we're interested in this. This is one we're definitely not interested in, because at the moment it looks a little bit ugly. It could go up here and then just break down because it's the typical flag situation. So you'll see the difference between an ugly looking chart and a good looking chart. So let's move from Litecoin onto Solana. So Solana filled the yellow boxes really nicely, as you can see. This one here did actually fail, but this is what I mean. These boxes work approximately 60, for Bitcoin they work 68% of the time. For the other ones, I don't track them as often, so I don't have the odds. I know for Bitcoin, under certain climate and certain scenarios, they work better than others. But the majority of the time, they work 68% of the time. That's the odds I have built for them. So they only work 2/3 of the time, pretty much. But that's why you have a strict stop loss. You size in correctly every time, and overall it's a profitable strategy. You can see here with Solana, you filled the yellow box. So if you filled this one here, you should have a stop loss roughly in here. So 203, and you'd have filled approximately 210 as an average price. So if you've done, I don't know how many you would do, but you're looking at potentially losing on a 10x leverage about 5, maybe 50% on the 10x leverage. But if you filled here on this yellow box and the stop, you wouldn't have a stop loss in here. You'd probably fill your orders all the way from here down to here. But if you have an average entry of probably let's call it 189 average entry. You now have 189 to 221. That's about 15% normally. So if you was at 10x leverage, you'd be up 150%. So this is the strategy if you want to play the leverage. But I'd say don't play the leverage unless you really know what you're doing. I don't sort of think it's a good idea. Go away and really study it. Look up on YouTube videos and really study how it works, how to place orders, what your stop losses are, and work it out manually on a piece of paper first. Say to yourself, how much am I willing to lose on this trade if it goes wrong? Work out your stop loss level and say, let's work out the worst situation. If it hits my stop loss level, how much am I willing for this trade to lose? And then that's how you size yourself in. But this is the odds on it. So this one would have gained you 150%, and over here on this one you would have lost 50%. So assuming you put £100 in to both trades, you would have lost £50 here. This one you'd be up, £150. So you'd be at 250 plus your 50, 300. So you'd have turned 200 into 300 by now. Let's look at Matic. So this is one I did a call on this one. I think it was yesterday. It may have been the day before, but I think it was yesterday. I had buy orders at 155 down to, I believe, I can't remember what it was, but we got a fill here. It was a really small fill, but we got the fill and we've got this nice move up here. This is a much healthier chart because as you can see, it's done this flag formation, broke down, and it started creating a new flag. But it's broke down and it's not broken down properly. We should have seen it filled all the way down to here, but it's not. It's held the yellow box. So this is the first sign of strength we've got. That's what's telling us, okay, look, this one's pretty cool. It's still holding up well. You might want to consider jumping in on this one. So now you've got this red downtrend line. Now you've seen it reclaim the border of the flag. It's now above the red trend line. You're saying, well, on any retest, I want to be in. So you had, let me move this in a little bit. So you had this white candle wick in here all the way down to 152. Yeah, all the way down to 152. So you could have been filling in there. And I think my average entry is 155 or 156. I'll share it in the group later. But and that's on leverage as well. And we've got this nice move up here because obviously it looks nicer than the other charts. Well, now what I'm looking for, a close above here would be great. Consolidation above the white horizontal, it's now resistance. Let's hopefully get consolidation, a nice move above it, consolidation above it, and turn the resistance into support. Once you've got that, this is the next target. This red downtrend line, a nice break above that could send it. So yeah, for now I'm going to hold depending on how this candle does. So I might have to do a late night update at sort of midnight tonight. Just if we did close below, I would say, well, maybe I'll take some size out of my position, just book some profits. But let's see how it closes. For now, it looks quite good, but you have to remember, it is up 8% on the day. So just keep assessing it. Now moving on to ADA, Cardano. This is really ugly, but and again, this could be forming a flag here. I mean, it's not a proper flag because it's not from the bottom of the flagpole in terms of ideally you want to see the flag come in from the main wick down, not go up a bit and then wick down slightly more again. That's not really the best place to put the flag, but we can still use this. So you want to see a nice break above the red downtrend line, and you want to see it cross this horizontal resistance here. But for now, overall, it just looks too ugly. It's the typical pump coin where the owners, the teams, basically, they haven't even really got any dApps on. I think they're not even like officially launched yet, or maybe they just recently have. but they've been a testnet for so long and haven't done any of the development upgrades that's been needed in comparison to Ethereum, Solana. Solana's absolutely annihilated it over the last year or two, showing the amount of development they've had. So this is just a typical coin where the owners are they're pumping the coin basically, and they'll manipulate it depending on how much supply they have. So I sort of do stay away from Cardano, to be honest with you. Okay, so the first coin we're going to look at that I have a nice bit of interest in is Doge. I think with Doge, it's pressed against this red trend line a few times. I think if we get a move above the red trend line, we can see it shoot up. I'd like to see a base formed on this white horizontal support. If we get another test down here and then a move in here, that squeeze into the pinpoint would potentially entice me to add. I would then consider adding maybe in here with the stop loss approximately here, and I would then double my size on a break above. And a nice break above, I would double my size. But you're potentially risking, so you have an average entry on the line. Let's say because you'll add below your, I've gone the wrong way, but anyway, let's just do it this way. But you might say your stop loss is 5.65% is what you're going to lose, and you'd be looking at least a retested horizontal resistance. So you'd be gaining 20%. So that's a sort of trade. This is a good-looking chart setup. Even though it's broken the main yellow downtrend line, you've still got nice support being held in here. So that if we get another retest down and it holds a squeeze into the pinpoint here, that may encourage you to add. So this is what I mean with the difference between a good-looking setup and an uglier setup. Where Chainlink, for example, it's one of my favourite coins, but this is a bit of an ugly setup, I'll be honest. It didn't hold the yellow box well. It's been creating a bit of a flag. Not a brilliant one, I must say, but a bit of one. You'd want to at least see it break out this red downtrend line, reclaim the 50%, and show some sort of strength to at least hold it above. Because at the moment, it's not really showing a lot. Every big bounce was with Matic, you saw the chart was quite a nice setup. So when Bitcoin has its little bounce, Matic will sort of go for it on that bounce. But Chainlink, you can see it hasn't really gone for it at all. So again, you pick the charts that are good looking to you to say, well, if Bitcoin does have a small bounce, where do I want to be positioned? What has got the strength behind it that it can run? Where something like Chainlink for now, we need to let this develop a lot more. But in terms of doing a in terms of doing a short-term trade on it, this doesn't interest me enough. Let's move on to a few more. BNB, this was another really good one. So again, the green and the yellow boxes overlapping are usually a really strong signal that area should hold, especially when it's lined up with a nice yellow trend line. As you can see, it's perfect. Literally, it's hit the bottom of the green box and gone. And I posted this chart, I think, when we were here. So go back to the Discord channel. Go to actually, I don't even think it's in the watch list. I think it would have been in the stream last week. So go back and watch one of the streams last week, and you'll see I was talking about it in here with consideration to place orders in here. So you maybe got an average entry of 528. You now be at 601. I mean, you're 15% up. If you leverage, you're 150% up. So this is why I'm happy. If this goes up like this, I'm happy to wait, and I'll play the boxes when they come because I've got faith in that strategy. But for now, going back to it, you can see it's in a bit of a flag formation. It's not really a great flag, but it still is a flag, and I have to chart them. I can't really ignore the data on these things. I want to see it reclaim this level, test the top of the flag, and preferably break it, to be honest. But if you do get a retest at the top of the flag, and you bought in here, I would say take some profits on the top border of the flag for sure. Or if it can't even close above the 50%, I'd say consider taking maybe 25% out. If it can get up here, take 50% out. Bitcoin Cash, look, no, If it can hold this line here and it squeezes in here potentially, but it's only had one touching point up here, where you saw with, which one was it? Doge. Doge had about 5 or 6 touching points. That shows the strength of the trend line here. She had 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you get another one in here and a break above, that's a clear sign that the short-term trend has been broken. So that will then show me, as signals to me, that this has got some strength. I'm happy to be in this. I'll take a position. Where Bitcoin Cash has only tested it once. So in terms of it actually breaking here, like how strong is this trend line in terms of resistance to the price? You don't know how strong it is or it isn't. You just know that you don't have the data for it because it's only tested the trend line, once, twice maximum, where Doge had tested it 4 times. So this is the difference between picking your opportunities. XRP. Again, XRP is set up reasonably okay, but it's not really formed any support here. It could have a big shoot up, but to be honest, this isn't good enough to interest me. I can't make out any clear formation of the candle structure, and for that reason, I'll look elsewhere. Not for me. And just a quick one. If I'm saying these coins like Chainlink, XRP, not for me at this moment in time, that does not mean I don't hold them. I mean, XRP, I'll be honest with you, I don't hold. But Chainlink is one of my biggest bags. I have faith that because it's such a good project, I have faith that it's not going to go to 0. I have faith that if it does go down to $20, I mean, I don't think it will. But I think you might get a small more dip. That's probably about it. But I know at the top of the bull market, Chainlink will be one of the top projects. So, and I want to be holding that bag. When it does get there, I can then sell my bags there. But yeah, that's my opinions on what I'm talking about now. Short term, long term, it's one of my biggest bags. So it's where I'm most confident. I can see in the chat there's a few questions about coins like Cake and Phantom. I haven't charted them, and it takes me, because you can see the sort of level of detail. It takes me 10 minutes to go through these charts. So what I will do is I will make a note of all the coins that you guys want me to chart, and I'll make a stream for this. If you guys want to sort of actually type in the YouTube chat what coins you want me to chart, I'll make a list of the coins and I'll go through them in the next live stream. I'm thinking probably Thursday. I can also do something in the general chat on Discord where you guys request which coins and maybe upvote the coins you like the most for me to chart, and I'll do a sort of send me whatever coins you want and I'll chart them. Sand, I've just seen Sand has come through. I've seen a lot of stuff about Sand. I'll try and chart that. But yeah, just get your shout outs to me and I'll do them in the next stream. Right, so sushi, this is what, again, another one of my big long-term bags. Zoom out. See here it seems to have found a little bit of a base, but as you can see, here is the strong base. This white line is the strong base. So I'd be looking to add positions on the white line or any break of the red trend line. I would also just be happy if I had lots of USDT sat on the side now. I'd be happy to buy more of this. I genuinely would. I think it's a good project. And seeing it potentially being able to go back up to 16 and being now able to buy it at 8, I would just, even if you've got 10% of your capital in USDT, just stick it in it and just say, you know what, I'm happy to leave this for 3 to 6 months and see where it goes. AVAX is a little bit of a killer. I wish I'd bought more of it. I bought some in this yellow box ages ago. And I think I sold it sort of in here when it created a bit of a bearish divergence. Yeah, so a little bit devastating. I sort of cried seeing what it's done the last few days. But you know what? It's not a problem. We move on. But for anyone that is still holding this project, I would say up here you could think about selling some, like maybe even just like 30% of your position, book some profits, then maybe think about rebuying back here. But then I've said that with other coins in the past and seen them just, skyrocket even more. But I would say a lot of liquidity, a lot of dollars needs to come into AVAX now, considering I think it might be a top 8 crypto now. So you need a lot more liquidity for it to actually come in. But yeah, this is a brilliant project. If you do have it, I'd say still hold. If you bought it in here, or you bought it here, or you bought it in here, whichever it is, I would say still hold a decent majority of your bags and try and sell them at the top of the bull market, which I think might be in 3, 4, 5 months, give or take. Let's move on. We've got a few more coins to do. So, Luna, no, Polkadot. So Polkadot has created a bit of a flag, but not really a good one. Let me zoom in. This isn't really a good one, because as you can see, you have this. Let me get rid of this convergence bar box. So as you can see, you had this white wick here. The flag should have been here, which it was. It was going up here, and then you had the breakdown, refill of more orders, and it also created a bullish divergence, as you can see down here. It was a very slight one, but it wasn't a brilliant one, but it was enough. So now you want to see this close above this 50%. That's definite. If you don't get that, you can get further wick down. It does depend on what Bitcoin does, and we'll go back to it having viewed a lot of these altcoins to see what they're going to do. Curve is another one. So this is actually one of my biggest bags. How it's filled the yellow box really nicely, but how it's done this, I've got no idea. It's a really ugly candle structure. If you're holding it, I'm holding it, it is a really big bag of mine. This is obviously great. It's up 17% today. I'm not really sure how it's up 17% today, considering how ugly this candle structure is here. This break of this red trend line is obviously very good, but all this in here is just weird. I wouldn't look to short-term trade this one. This is one, when it does come down a lot, you want to just purchase a decent majority of it when it is down low, and just hold it for the bull market. Trying to think. Arve is one we could be interested in. So this seems to have found a bit of a base here, and it also matches up at this level here. So this has found a bit of a base. It's retested down here. This could be one that we add from move up to here, and a stop loss of potentially roughly down about here. Depending on what Bitcoin does, I may look to add this reasonably soon. It might even be this evening, it might be first thing in the morning, depending on how things go. But Aave and Doge are the ones that look. Doge isn't really treated like a meme coin, even though it is a meme coin. It's had so much liquidity now that it's almost now being traded professionally, rather than it just being pump and dump like Shiba. But Aave, Doge, and which else was another good one I liked? I cannot remember now. I can't remember which one it was now. But those are the two that stand out mostly to me in terms of what I would want to trade. I'm trying to think if there's. So DAG is one of the long-term ones as well. So I'll get a red trend line drawn in here. You can see it's sort of held this one. This one, as long as it doesn't break down to, I'd say, just looking at it here, 16 cent. Even if it went to 16 cent, I'd probably buy more. But yeah, this is one of my favourite projects long term. I mean, say it does this again, which it will do in the top of the bull market. You're talking about going from 19 to 44. So, especially if it comes back down here to 16, you're talking about going from 16 to 44. And as you know, in bull markets, most of these things do outdo what they've done, as in what top they've done in the last cycle. And I know this is still the same bull cycle, but the last one was like sort of a pre-cycle, and now you have the sort of post-bull cycle. Trying to think of what else. Let's have a look at the big caps index. Okay, so this is really good. I did an update on this yesterday saying we had the retest of the border, and then we have a move up here. This shows the strength of the large caps now against Bitcoin. This is showing that people or investors are looking to start getting into the alts more heavily, and yeah, this is basically showing everything you need to know. But if we can get a break above this white line here, that's now alt season. I think we're probably already in the start of alt season here because this does look so good. But it might be the case this does continue. Let me pull this out of the way, sorry. This does continue. Bitcoin goes up to that red trend line, has a pullback, and we might see this come back down to here, another downtrend channel, and then it pops. And that might be the bottom needed. I think it's still potentially one more bottom in here, but I think, as I said, I think there's only a 35% chance of that happening, and there's a 65% chance of it breaking out from where it is now. Scroll to a larger time frame. So this is where we're at, and this is a decent pullback. I think here would have been the most ideal price-wise and chart-looking wise, but I think the market makers and the miners would not want it to come back this far. I think they would be frightened that it coming back this far would put some of the professional traders off, and therefore they would exit the market, and they need the professional traders to be aligned with what they want so that the price can go upwards, considering they're holding so much of this Bitcoin. But for now, I think going back into a slightly smaller time frame, for Bitcoin, we want to start seeing some positive daily closes, not these pullbacks into the daily close. We keep getting these long blue wicks up like this, here. We need to start seeing where the white candles you can see are closing at the bottom of their wicks. They're literally, other than this one, they're closing at the bottom of their wicks. We need to start seeing some actual forceful blue candles that close towards the top of their wick, and that will indicate to us that into the close of the candle there's some big buying pressure. And usually when it's done sort of late at night or late on the weekends, that's coming from the market makers, the miners, the exchanges, and that will sort of indicate to us that here they're done. They want it to go now. So next target I'm looking at is here. A nice break above would be really great, and for it to be done towards the end of, at midnight UK time would indicate that that market buying has come in at the close of the candle, meaning that the market makers want to show that sign of strength. So hopefully bringing more buying to push it further on. For now, that's pretty much it. Are there any questions? If there's any questions in the chat, I'll go through them. I know I'm about 10 seconds in front of you guys, so I'll wait a little bit. It can be anything, guys. Thoughts on India's new rules for crypto? I'm sorry, I don't know enough about it. I haven't looked into it enough. I'm more of a pure trader and on-chain data guy. Yeah. If there's any other questions, I'll take them. If not, what's up with my voice? Oh yeah, sorry. It's I've had a bad cough. Sorry. Seoul. Okay. So the question is, what's your prediction on Seoul to the end of the year? Well, it's a difficult one because it's already done such a massive run. But I think Solana will do what Ethereum done in 2017. So I think you could see $1,000 Solana. I mean, that's asking a lot. Yeah, that is asking a lot, but I do think we'll see something similar to that. Again, Solana is one of those ones on the big dips. I'll try and add to my bags, and I'm just, I'll happily let it roll and see what comes of it. But towards the end of the bull market, I think Solana will probably be, out of the whole bull market, in terms of the major cap coins, will probably be the best performer. But you have to remember, it has already done a huge run up. Just looking at more questions. Okay, so do you only use the 12-hour time frame to draw the flags? Yes, because the 12-hour time frame is the one that the miners play. So the 12-hour time frame is it's just much better for having confirmations of things. Where if I want to do it on the 4-hour, I don't want to be too reliant on what I draw, what patterns I draw on the 4-hour, because they're just not reliable enough. Where the 12-hour is what the market maker goes off of. So the 12-hour is the time frame to play, basically. So that's where I'll place my reliance in that structure, that candle structure, and yeah, that's what I'll trade. Next question. If we miss the Bitcoin and dot entry, your advice for now is just to wait. Yeah, that's for everything. So if you miss, so say I do a trade setup in the group and you guys miss it, I would say don't chase it ever. If it's out of the buy zone, don't chase it, because the buying is placed by professional orders in areas like these boxes. These guys don't go and chase. If it goes up further, they might add to their position, so if they want to be in at a heavier size, but they're never going to just go in then. I say completely and utterly forget about it and basically just wait for the next opportunity. Thoughts on high interest DeFi crypto like Time Spot? Sorry, unfortunately, I don't know enough about that. I used to do a lot of the yield farming on 1inch and things like that when that first came about. So they were offering like ridiculous APYs, like 200 and something odd percent. But then what they were offering, the coins they were offering the farming in and being paid out in 1inch, the coins I never really liked, so I wasn't really on it for that longer period. Okay, this is a cool question. What about market top date predictions with this delayed start? Okay, let's have a look. Personally, I think let's come out. Okay. So I think we're going to see something like. Now this is really rough, so do not take this as gospel, whatever you do. Yeah, I think it'll probably do more. We'll have a couple. We might have like a bit of a deeper correction here. A retest down to say 68. Might then go and get this. And this is really rough, by the way. Do not take this with gospel, whatever you do. But that might go in. But this may not even be enough. We might just see it just go like this and end up at 100k in sort of January, February time. But I think what we're likely to get is a big move up to 100k, probably I'd say by February, March time. And I think you might go and get another decent-ish correction down to sort of like maybe where we're at now, because we've built up a lot of support here. The last main all-time high was at 64. We then had one at 67, and then one at 68. So you might get a rip up to 100, a pull down to 67, and I think we might, and then everyone will say, oh, it's done. And at that point, at 67, you might see another rip up to like 150, and that might be it. But it's really hard to call, it's really hard to predict. I would just say the on-chain stuff looks so good. And because the on-chain stuff does look so good, I would say that you want to position yourself to be involved in this, but you don't try and time the market. Just position yourself correctly in it, that you're willing to hold what you've got. You're not stressed or you're not uncomfortable. Like, you're not over leveraged on any positions or anything like that. And don't try and time the market. Try and just wait for the market to come to you. You position yourself correctly, and then sell your bags into the massive price spikes. Yeah, that's probably, out of everything I've said, that's probably my best bit of advice. But yeah, other than that, I think that's that's it. I've seen there's a lot of stuff on Cake and Phantom I've been asked about. I will go through them on the next live stream because I need to actually chart them from scratch. I don't trade them. And I'll do some sort of back research on them as well, just to give you sort of a half okay opinion. But take what I say with, well, take everything I say and take everything from everyone that you watch on YouTube or whichever. Take everything with a pinch of salt, because everyone's just giving their best opinion, but nobody knows what's going to happen. People can just make decent predictions based off of on-chain data, off of charts, buying and sell levels, but no one can call it 100%. But yeah, I'd say that's it. I'll be in the group tomorrow. Sorry I didn't post loads today. I had a really hectic day, but tomorrow I will be in the group and I'll post a lot more of the watchlist stuff. I'll post a lot more of these charts and what we expect. Yeah, and that's it. Thanks for watching.